Not,
We are right now.
okay.
So we are live and welcome everyone to our meeting of Prescott Town Council for September 7th, 2021. Call the meeting to order, please. And I will note that we do have two regrets this evening from Councilors Jansman and Schenker. So moving right along to approval of tonight's agenda under item 2, the recommendation reads that the agenda for the council meeting of September 7, 2021 be approved as presented. Could I ask for a mover, please? Moved by Councilor Ostrander, seconded by Councilor McConnell. Any discussion on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Oh, Ray, did you have a question or?
I was going to ask to remove 7.1 from the consent. It's not under consent, sorry.
Oh, yeah, the communications have been separated tonight.
Sorry, yeah.
Yep, no worries. So item 3, declarations of interest. Any members of council have a declaration of interest this evening? Seeing no, 4 presentations, nothing tonight. Same with 500 delegations. 6 is minutes of our previous council meetings, and we do have one item under 6.1. That's our meeting minutes from August 23rd. Recommendation there reads that the council minutes dated August 23rd, 2021 be accepted as presented. Could I have a mover, please? Moved by Councilor Young, seconded by Councilor Burton. Any discussion on that set of minutes from our last meeting? Seeing no, so I will call the vote. All in favor? Motion's carried. So 7, communications and petitions. We do have 2 items there this evening, letters that did come in the last couple of weeks. 7.1 is a request for support from Jim Holmes here in town, our local optometrist. This was requesting a motion with regards to the ongoing dispute between the province and optometrists for the coverage of optometry services. And I think it's the initial exam. We do have the letter. Everyone has received that. Councilor Young, you've already mentioned this. I'm assuming you did want to speak to it.
I did want to support it, Mayor Todd. I have spoken with Jim about this at a recent appointment I had with him. And from his point of view, this seems like we should support it, because I think if we don't and things change, our local taxpayers will suffer either financially or perhaps they'll just avoid going. And it seems to me that based on what I've read and he told me, it doesn't seem fair to the optometrist.
Almost sounds like a motion.
Yeah, I'd be happy to allow Ms. Vacant to make me look very intelligent with a proper motion.
Sure, sounds good. Is there a seconder for that motion? I guess the wording would looks like Councilor Ostrander just beat Councilor Burton's hand there. But in terms of wording here, Councilor Young, just essentially to I guess just back the request, and we'll bring it back for the next meeting for the formal so that basically be staff direction to draft a resolution.
Okay.
I do see 5 others have passed them as well, so
yes,
I think we probably just use that wording if that's suitable. Lindsay, any idea, just a rough idea of what that motion would read?
Through you, Mayor.
Exactly what we're.
Yeah, sorry, the resolution or just the motion for staff direction?
Motion for staff direction tonight.
Yeah, that staff be directed to bring back a resolution of support from the request regarding OHIP and optometry coverage.
Sounds good to me. Councilor Young and Councilor Ostrander, both good as the mover and the seconder.
Yeah.
Any further discussion on this matter tonight? Councilor McConnell?
Perhaps I don't disagree with this at all. From what Jim pointed out here, this is patently ridiculous. But I'd be curious to know, and perhaps we can contact Jim and ask him what he thinks would be a fair monetary amount that optometrists should be given. It seems like this, if it hasn't been changed that much in that many years, is clearly unfair. But what is fair does he feel in this market? perhaps if we could find out that information.
Yeah, interesting question on where they are with that. I just did some quick online searches just to see where they were in the negotiations. I guess they did. It looks like they did just break down recently, and the province has made an offer. And I'm not sure what the counter is with regards to what the Optometrist Association is looking for there. So yeah, it'd be interesting if we whatever more detail, if staff could reach out and see if there's any more information on this. There's also the possibility this could be resolved by the time we meet again, to be honest, because I think there are some active discussions. So we'll just have to keep an eye on that as well. But otherwise, yeah, we could bring that back for further comment at the next meeting. Anything further from other members of council? Seeing we're all good there, so I will call the question. All in favor? Motion is carried. Thanks, everyone. And we do have the one other item in correspondence tonight. 7.2, Nature's Best Hope New Approach to Conservation That Starts in Your Yard. This was a letter that did come forward with regards to non-native plants from Astrid, her last name now, I want to call her Mashallah, who actually did some great work for the town a number of years ago. If anyone would like to speak to this, that's totally open right now, but I would suggest that we just send a polite response to thanking her for her input. And I will note that I guess this event is not May 4th, 2021. We did confirm that. It's actually next May. Is that correct? I think I mentioned that to you, Matt, or Lindsay, or both.
I think it's for next May, but we will certainly confirm.
Okay.
Because it was only received recently.
Yeah. Any discussion on this item? Okay, seeing none. Thanks, everyone. So we will. If someone could just draft a little letter for a response and to thank her for her input and her ongoing or her former work actually helping with plants and maintenance in town. So now we are on to 8, the consent reports. As always, everything here is considered routine and acted by one motion. Everyone okay with handling this as one motion this evening? Any request to split them off? Seeing no, so the recommendation is that all items listed under the consent report section of the agenda be accepted as presented, and that includes 8.1, tonight's information package, and the usual staff report from our treasurer under 8.2, that's staff report 82-2021. Could I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Young, seconded by Councillor Ostrander. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Thanks all. 9 committee reports, none this evening. 10 mayor, just a few quick comments. Just going to thank everyone again for that fast response with the train derailment last week. That was a horrific accident that could have been much, much worse. Some of it we lucked out on. Some of it we just had some great people that were in place at the time, and I'm referring mainly to our fire department. Incredible job they did to take charge of that scene to get the injured party out of the train. Also OPP, of course, coordinating really well. And I've got to have a special shout out for Northern Cables, because their staff were, obviously this happened right in basically the backyard of Northern Cables, and their staff were on scene immediately, helped with the extrication of the injured party along with fire, and just did a tremendous job. Chief Rayner did note that to me right that morning when I did attend on the scene, and I extended my thanks to Northern Cables through the owners later that afternoon. Just a tremendous job overall by everyone on that. CN, I've got to thank them as well. Great communication, coordinating with us and town staff here. Want to thank town hall staff as well. Great job coordinating everything. Nathan was on scene as well. Matt did a great deal of work. Everyone at town hall actually did a lot of work on this. Made sure we had the information going to the emergency control group, and it went really, really well for what happened. And I also, of course, want to thank Augusta and Edwardsburg Cardinal Fire. They did step in to take our calls, where our fire department was, of course, already occupied at the scene of the accident. So all's well that ends well with that one. We're really, really lucky. We dodged a whole bunch of bullets. It was like a Matrix thing, the number of bullets we dodged on that. The gas line, the overpass, the fact that there was no loss of life. We really lucked out on it. And of course, CN did a great job bringing everything back online so quickly as well. So hats off to everyone involved, but special credit for our fire department, who they always do a great job, but something like this, you really see their mettle, what they can do in an emergency, in such an urgent situation. I want to note the Citizen Awards, really for a holiday weekend, good turnout down there. Want to congratulate again Justin Kirkby for Volunteer of the Year, Ben Quenville and Property Guys for Business of the Year, and the family and the friends of the late Pat Kingston for Citizen of the Year. Three very well-deserving recipients. Very nice ceremony that day in the amphitheater, especially for a holiday weekend. Nice to see so many people come out, and great way to celebrate citizenship here in the Fort Town, and some really dedicated people who have given a lot of their time to making Prescott better. I want to mention the fireworks on Saturday night. Fantastic job again. One of the best shows I think we've had in many years, if not ever. It was long, had smiley faces, which I don't think any of us have ever seen before. It was a really impressive, unique show. So hats off to everyone there that did such a tremendous job with it. Did want to note, though, unfortunately, we did have some issues with the weather yesterday that interfered with a lot of our recreational programming, the pool opening, and also the musical entertainment that we'd arranged for the amphitheater. That did have to be moved. Unfortunately, I think St. John's Church in Brockville was their rain venue, because they are set up there regularly, and it was an easy transition. But the storm in the morning and the threats of the storms through the afternoon really sort of put the kibosh on that. But I do want to thank Al Torrance with the Upper Canada Musicians Association. They're going to look at bringing something back here in the not too distant future. They really would like to make it up to us, but as always, we can't control the weather with those outdoor events, and unfortunately, we just gonna hit a bad run there on Labor Day Monday. And I also want to thank the Chartrand family. Elaine Chartrand did come down. She's been home for a visit for a little bit of last week, and she did stop by the arena construction site on Friday morning. Had a great visit with the entire Chartrand family, along with our other members of our fundraising committee. It was very short notice, so I know some couldn't make it, but we did have to set this up just with a couple days. I think Heather Chartrand just emailed me on, I believe it was Wednesday, for something in the following 2 days, and then Thursday was a bit of a write-off, of course, with the train derailment. But I just want to thank the Chartrands again. They're just wonderful people, incredible dedication here to the new arena, through both the donation and also, the moral support, and just how much they're behind the entire project. We couldn't pick a better family and a better person to have the name associated with their new arena. It's just a really nice moment to have Elaine there on site for the first time, looking at the arena. So again, thanks so much to the Chartrand family for stopping by. Thanks for all the support, and we're going to do you proud with this great new building that we are constructing. That's it for me tonight. So we'll move along to 11 outside boards, committees, and commissions, and start as always with Councilor Burton.
Thank you, Mayor Todd. I did want to echo a few of your thank yous as well. Our Prescott Fire Department, it just shows the dedication that they have for our community and our town staff. The quick response is absolutely amazing, and so I want to definitely do another shout out to the fire department and our own town staff. The Labor Day festivities, lots of positive comments over Facebook. And one of the best ones that I wanted to quote tonight was, "Thank you, Prescott. We really needed those fireworks." So it just shows, it just lifted a bunch of spirits in our residents and our community. So thanks for those who organized that. And I know our town staff is a big part of that. So thank you. That's all for me.
Thank you very much, Councilor Burton. Couldn't echo that anymore either. We have a lot to be thankful for. Councilor McConnell, please.
Thank you very much, Mayor Todd. I also, along with several members of the family, enjoyed the family and friends, enjoyed the fireworks on Saturday night. And we had friends from Brockville that came down, and actually friends from Ottawa that came down as well to enjoy the fireworks with us. Am I still there? I disappeared for a minute.
Yeah, I can still see everybody else. I think you're good.
Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, you're all good.
All right. the library. I was in the library today, and it's nice to be able to walk in, get a book, speak to the ladies. Everything's good there. Walker House, unfortunately, is still not open. The bathroom is open for use, but they're getting close to having that building ready to open. But I think we need town staff from the town hall to hold their feet to the fire a little bit to get us over the hump. It's been long enough. Of course, Shakespeare presented Saltwater Moon, which was very well received. Unfortunately, I was out of town. I didn't get to see it, but I'm told it went very well. Some members of council were there. They took in more than they expected to take in, and we're very happy with the results. So this may lead to something else for next year or future years. You never know. And I think that's it for myself, Mayor Todd. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor McConnell. Councillor Ostrander, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to mention the community awards on Saturday morning, I thought that was a nice touch, even though we're basically only honoring 3 people, 3 or 4, I guess it was. But I thought that was well done. Making it a separate ceremony and not including it as part of something else is a good idea as well. I'd like to make a comment on the concert on Sunday afternoon. I realize it had to be moved, but there was some grumbling about it being moved to Brockville as opposed to somewhere in Prescott. And I think given the fact that the amphitheater is getting more diversified all the time in its usage, particularly with concert and outdoor events, I think maybe it would be in the town's best interest if they search around and find a designated ill weather venue to move these things to move them all the way to Brockville, which I realize isn't a big deal on a holiday weekend, and a nice, the afternoon turned out quite nice. But for the Chris Coyer and Alex Florio concert, which my wife and I went to, there was a total of 12 people in the bleacher in the church. Tom Van Duzen was the third Brockville or Prescottite that was there with us. So anyway, so I just think we lose something in that if we don't have. I realize our venues are few and far between here, but I think we might get an agreement with if it's one of the churches, or maybe if it's modifying the Leo a bit in order to have something there. I think we got to look into that because the value of those events that we have involve a lot of people, and they all, there was 5 or 6 different acts going to be there that day. I think it ended up being maybe 4 total or something. But anyway, I just think it's something that before we get too heavily involved in another season, and we've got enough lined up for the fall as it is with the Country Fest coming up and that. So anyway, I won't belabor that, but I just think it's something we need to look into, looking forward. Couple other items. The Legion is getting back to its Thursday night meals this week. It's going to be their first go at it since they closed down the last time. I think we should consider supporting them. I think the community should consider supporting them. They've had a rough 1.5 to 2 years, the same as everybody else. But being a service club, they had to rely on grants to sort of keep the lights on and the heat in the building type thing. So I think we should consider, the town should consider being as supportive of them as they can. One other thing, it's on the agenda there. There's a homelessness venue coming up this week, put on by United Counties between the 20th and the 24th, I believe. Our food bank is hosting a drop-in on the, I believe it's Thursday, the 23rd, from 11 till 1. Free pizza and that. And they're just trying to encourage some kids who are borderline, shall we say, having to live away from home or wherever they're living. And I know Connect Youth deals a lot with this as well. So it's a subject close to me, and we've I've heard a lot of talk about it, in the while I've been on with Connect Youth too. So anyway, that's it for me.
Very much, Councillor Ostrander. Councillor Young, please.
No, Mayor Todd, I have nothing to report tonight.
Thank you very much, and thanks everyone for the reports. So we're on to 12. That's staff this evening. We do have a number of staff reports up tonight, starting with 12.1. That's staff report 83-2021, alternative voting methods for the 2022 municipal election. Recommendation is that council receive staff report 83-2021 for information and direct staff to bring the attached draft bylaw, being a bylaw to authorize an alternative voting method for the 2022 municipal election, to the council meeting of September 20th, 2021 for final consideration and approval. Could I ask for a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Burton, seconded by Councillor Young. I believe this report is yours, Ms. Velkamp.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Todd. As the report outlines, the Municipal Election Act requires council to pass the bylaw authorizing alternative voting methods for the 2022 municipal election. This bylaw isn't required to be passed until May 1st of 2022. However, clerks in Leeds and Grenville have gotten together and are looking to put out an RFP for telephone and internet voting systems. So it made sense to have the bylaw passed and approved by council prior to going out for that RFP. And just as a point, the town of Prescott has offered to issue that RFP. The report also outlines the voting methods in 2018, where 66% of voters used an alternative voting method. And the report is also discussing the option of eliminating paper ballots for the 2022 election. There are some benefits that are outlined, which kind of include, following the pandemic, it would be easier to clean and sanitize tablets versus the pencils that are used on paper ballots. There's cost savings, not having to print the ballots. And I think people are more used to using electronic methods now after the pandemic versus 2 years ago. So that's the report. Included is the draft bylaw that can come back to the next meeting for approval. And if anyone has any questions, I can help. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Open it up for comments, questions for members of council. Councillor Young, please, then Councillor McConnell.
Lindsley, perhaps you would just go over what a person without a computer might be able to do in this regard without a paper ballot.
Yeah, of course. Through you, Mayor Todd. So alternative voting methods includes telephone voting. It can be done through a cell phone. And then, as always, we would have advanced voting, which we did in the 2018 election, and we had tablets then. And the feedback we received from residents coming in was fairly positive. People that typically wouldn't use a lot of technology had expressed how simple it was, and we would have staff on hand to be able to assist. And we did have a couple situations last year where if there was mobility issues or the inability for residents to come into town hall, we did go to them to try to make voting easier as well.
Good, thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Young. Councillor McConnell, please.
I remember when we first brought the alternative voting idea forward, I guess it was a couple of terms ago. Maybe we discussed it in your first term as mayor. I don't remember exactly, but we gave it a try because the idea was to encourage as many people to vote as possible and make it as easy for them to vote as possible. Given the fact that 34% of the people that voted in the last election chose to do so by paper ballot, I can't see any reason why we would eliminate paper ballots for this election. If we found at this election that maybe only 10% or 15% were using paper ballots, I would say it would be cause for discussion. But when you have a full third of the people still voting by paper ballots, I believe we should continue to do that for this election. As far as sanitizing pencils, that's not a real big deal. People do that in stores all the time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor McConnell. Other comments, questions on the motion tonight? Councilor Burton, please.
Thank you, Mayor Todd. I think there's a different way of thinking now because of COVID. And I think, Councilor McConnell, you might find that people would be more comfortable and doing not a paper ballot because there's, you know, like Lindsay suggested, like there's all sorts of different sanitizing issues, and people who have been afraid of the virus is not necessarily going to feel comfortable of picking up a piece of paper that somebody's already touched and to vote. So I'm definitely in favor of this. I think it's a smart way to go. I think you'll find that even making it easier, more people will participate in municipal elections. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor Burton. Other discussion from members of council tonight? Okay, seeing nothing further, then I will call the question. All those in favor? Opposed?
What are we actually voting for here? I'm not clear on exactly what we're voting for.
Staff direction to bring the bylaw forward and authorize this alternative voting method. So you're basically voting in favor of the recommendation so that when the bylaw comes back, it will eliminate the paper ballot.
Well, then I would definitely be opposed.
Okay, so it does pass, so that will come back to us on September 20th, of course, and we should have 2 more members of council there at that time as well. So we'll have a little more, we'll probably have a little more discussion about that at that time. So, okay, thanks everyone. And moving along, we do have under 12.2, that's staff report 84-2021. This is for the 2021 Community Awards, Heroes of COVID. Recommendation is that staff be directed to release a Heroes of COVID nomination package and that council appoint 3 members to the 2021 Community Awards selection panel. Could I have a mover, please? Moved by Councilor Ostrander, seconded by Councilor Young. I guess it's well, Caitlin and Lindsay on this. So ladies, so whoever's going to take the report, please.
I'm going to start through you, Mayor Todd. The report, as outlined in the recommendation, includes the nomination package for the Heroes of COVID. The Heroes of COVID came out of discussions with the 2020 selection panel, which included Councillor McConnell, Mayor Todd, and Councillor Shankar. And I guess the gist of the awards would be that we would have a number of coins, which mock images are included in the report, that would be handed out to not citizens, individuals that have been nominated. So instead of having 3 award recipients, this is a greater number because I think this year has been a different kind of year and there's more to be recognizing. So the report outlines the timeline for the nomination period, which, depending on council's direction or opinion, would start on September 13th and close October 11th. So that would provide people a month to nominate individuals, and then close with an award ceremony taking place in November. That timeline can change. Caitlin has been working really hard and came up with the mock-up. She's done a fantastic job and she's done all the costing. And she does have some information to for timelines and how long it would take. So I'm going to hand it over to her if she wants to speak a little bit about the coins and the hard work that she's done on these.
Thank you very much. Ms. Mallory, please.
Perfect. Through you, Mayor Todd. Can you hear me okay? Sometimes I have problems with my computer. Okay.
Yep, it's all good.
Yeah, so I just did the costing on those. The only other option that can be left up to council would be to add color. I did get costing on that as well. That is 40 cents per coin for the first color. And then if we're looking to add any additional color, it would be 30 cents per coin. So 2 colors, you're looking to add $70 to the bottom line. Other than that, these are made locally, well, not locally, they're made in Canada. I believe it's Toronto. And I'm told it's 2 to 3 weeks lead time once we finalize the final artwork.
Thank you very much, Caitlin. And I'll also note that Caitlin did that great design of the medals as well, which I think looks fantastic and is included in your reports. So I guess our decisions tonight obviously are the going ahead with this, if everyone's still comfortable with it. We did discuss this. It may have been an in-camera session though when we did approve the nominees, the winning nominations for the 2020 awards that we just handed out. So this is the first time this has gone fully public. So open it up for discussion. And I guess the main question is, everyone's still comfortable with doing this as we discussed before, and also I guess the options in terms of we have 2 different options. Caitlin, am I right, for the type of coins? And then there's, if we're going to just give them the velvet bag, velvet box, or acrylic box. So if we just want to go around the table with everyone, is everyone, well, I'll just open it up for discussion then based on those 3 main items of discussion. Councilor Burton, please.
Thank you, Mayor Todd. I think this is an excellent opportunity, not only for town staff to get the nominations, but I could see businesses getting involved, because some of their employees have really stepped up, and it could be, a local hero to an employer, that they have this amazing employees that really, stepped it up during the difficult times. And I could see them getting involved. So I'm fully supporting this. I think I do like it without the color right now. But I'm in favor of either, if the majority wants color, go with color. And if not, that's good too. But excellent idea all around.
Thank you very much, Councilor Burton. Councilor Young, please.
Thank you. I'm also in favor of the project that we discussed earlier. My choice would be spend more money with pewter and less money with the velvet bag. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor Young. Councilors Ostrander and McConnell, comments? Councilor Ostrander, please.
I think it's a great idea. I think we all know what we've been through in the last year and a half. And I think being around town a lot, we've picked up on people who are quietly, very discreetly helping out with this whole thing. And I think probably that's the venue we've kind of got to concentrate on, maybe when we're looking for people that have sort of been the silent heroes in all of this. I'm like Ray, I'm with the pewter version, and less the velvet bag, I guess, would be the best. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilor McConnell.
I'm going to make it very easy and very simple. I agree with the pewter and the velvet bag. I thought it was a good idea when you presented it in our committee meeting. I still do. And I would say let's go ahead with it.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think it is as Leanne mentioned, I mean, and it goes back to the fireworks comment. People are looking for little shots in the arm now, and the more we can boost that, I think it gives us a sense that we're on our way out of this thing too, that we're actually awards for what people did. And everybody, I hope this is really well received, and I hope the community really takes this on. The only thing I would add is, if we've got a budget of 1,500, so we'd be talking 900 plus the velvet bag at 80 cents a piece. So I guess I was just wondering, if we do get a real outpouring, if we could just add, if there's a possibility to add to the numbers of 100. I don't know if we will hit that. Maybe that's just blue sky thinking, but there are certainly a lot of people. I mean, you look at Wellington, at Mayfield, King's Kitchen dinners, Legion. I mean, and as Leanne mentioned, I mean, there's almost guaranteed there's a few people at the larger stores that are going to stand out. And, we want to make sure we recognize a lot of people here. So that would be my only comment. If we do go over 100, and we'll have that chance, it comes back on the 18th of October to review this. So I guess we'll see it then. Yeah, I'm in full agreement of that as well. So I guess if I could ask for a friendly amendment, then it's probably the best way to do this for the recommendation to approve. So the pewter as the choice of the medallion and the velvet bags. So if we could add that to the staff direction. And I'm trying to remember who actually moved and seconded this again. Is that Ms. Vacant?
It was Councillor Ostrander and Councillor Young.
Is that okay with the mover and the seconder? We'll add that in as a friendly amendment. And I guess the other question is we're asking to appoint 3 members to the selection panel. I'd be willing to do it again but if somebody wants on as well, I'm happy to. And I don't know about Councillor Shankar, but I'd be happy to do it again if everyone's willing, but whatever everyone wants. We can add that to the agenda as well. So have anybody else that wants to step forward to be part of that 3-person committee? Councillor Burton, Councillor Young? I'd put my name forward as well. So are we good with that? Adding that to the motion as well? That's the 3 nominees for the 2021 selection panel. Okay, so I think we do have Lindsay. Do you mind just reading that? What we're moving and seconding now?
Yes, of course. So that staff be directed to release the Heroes of COVID nomination package and purchase the pewter coins with velvet bags, and that council appoint the following 3 members to the 2021 Community Award Selection Panel: Mayor Todd, Councillor Burton, and Councillor Young.
Sounds good. Is that good with the mover and the seconder? Seeing some nods. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion is carried. Thanks, everyone. And we'll obviously promote this really heavily. And the other thing I will, as we mentioned when we first discussed this, if councilors have anyone to bring forward as well, we want to make sure it's more important. I think the most important thing is to capture those that really contributed to the community during this very challenging time the last year and a half. So if anybody internally has anyone to bring forward as well, let's hear them so we can really make sure we recognize everyone in the community that is deserving. Thanks all. And 12.3 is staff report 85-2021 on National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. Recommendation is that staff be directed to bring the attached proclamation to the council meeting of September 20th, 2021, and prepare for a National Day of Truth and Reconciliation ceremony on September 30th, 2021, and that a land acknowledgement be read prior to calling council meetings to order. Could I ask for a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Burton, seconded by Councillor Ostrander, and Ms. Veldkamp, you're up again.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Todd. The report before you outlines some ceremony options for September 30th, which is National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. As outlined in the report, there are some flag options that the town could purchase. We could fly those at the ceremony, which would take place on September 30th. As well as the attached proclamation, which we would bring back for approval on September 20th, so it is proclaimed in time. And then for ongoing support, a land acknowledgement could be read prior to calling council meetings to order. It could be done at the very beginning of every meeting, and 2 options or suggestions are outlined in that report as well, which can be changed and edited if we want to include something or if there's something we don't like. And that's basically the report. If you have any questions, thanks.
Thank you very much. I will say that I did ask staff to bring forward this with the wording and also the flags, because I did note that other municipalities and other organizations are doing that. And it's sort of a way to show ongoing solidarity beyond just flying the flags at half mast. So it seemed like a like a good step forward that would acknowledge our history, acknowledge the Indigenous peoples, and just try to do our ongoing part with regards to truth and reconciliation. So open it up for discussion. Any comments, questions? Councillor Young.
Yes, I approve. I'm in favor of this. However, I would choose the second quote as our opening, as what we would say when we open our council meetings. That is, we will begin this meeting by council by acknowledging that we are meeting on Aboriginal land that has been inhabited by Indigenous peoples.
Thank you, Councillor Young. Should we specify though? I mean, I guess that's the open question. You like keeping it open like that, so it's just Indigenous peoples?
I think that covers everything, as opposed to naming the four tribes that have been mentioned. I was always under the impression that Iroquois was part of our history, but I see that is not mentioned here.
It's connected to the Haudenosaunee, I believe.
Is it?
That's part of the nation there overall. Sorry, Councillor Vacant. We almost demoted you. Clerk Vacant, please.
Sorry, through you, Mayor Todd. The example that I provided in the second one also includes, I'm just looking now, my spacing was a little confusing in the report. So it also included, in particular, we acknowledge, and then it actually states. But that doesn't mean it has to be included, but it's, whatever council wishes, we can definitely include.
I apologize for that. I read that wrong as well. I didn't see where you didn't have the, thought it was three options. Okay, thank you. Other comments, questions? And I guess if it's in here now, we talked about the ceremony. We talked about having it down by the harbor, the main flags there. It's such a prominent public location. We could do something there on that National Day on the 30th, if everyone's okay with that as well. And seeing no further discussion, then I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. And 12.4 is staff report 86-2021 vacant building registry bylaw. Recommendation is that council accepts staff report 86-2021 for information and provide feedback to staff prior to September 30th, 2021, and that staff be directed to bring back the bylaw to the council meeting of October 18, 2021 for final review and consideration. Can I ask for a mover, please? Moved by Councilor Ostrander, seconded by Councilor Burton. Sean, over to you, please.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, the vacant building registry was part of the direction given to staff from the presentation that was given in the spring. I believe it was May 17th at the council meeting there. The whole purpose of a vacant building registry, it's part of a multi-prong approach to convert the bylaw department more into what's expected by both staff, council, and even the people that we're serving in order to give faster, quicker, and better service. The goal, of course, of this particular prong of the vacant building registry is to provide a more efficient, timely, and effective system, which ensures consistent maintenance, which will increase public safety and reduce unsightly buildings in the community. As you are aware, due to complaints that get directed to you, often when a building is vacant right now, the town doesn't have as much in their toolbox to deal with it until it gets to the point that it's an obvious public safety hazard. Whereas this here will actually do a much better job at encouraging both the person that owns it to maintain it, but also to keep it maintained so that we don't end up where the only solution is to tear it down in total. So it'll also give us a much better system for keeping track of exactly what vacant buildings we have in the town. Part of the purpose also of the registry is kind of like speeding. There's no doubt that it's definitely an issue, but sometimes it gets the perception that it's worse. And so you put out the traffic counters to kind of keep an eye on exactly what the speed is through the area at all different times of day. Same kind of idea with the vacant building registry. The idea is we'll actually have a list. We'll know what's available, we'll know where it's available, and we'll know what it's capable of doing. Whereas right now we're kind of guessing a whole lot. We've got a fairly good idea, but this will certainly make it much more documented, and it'll be able to report to council in a more clean and concise fashion. I am asking the council take the time to read it and get back to me by September 30th with any ideas or suggestions. You can find these bylaws in many municipalities. In this case, I actually mainly combined this bylaw from Cornwall and with the city of Hamilton's, but you can find them everywhere, and large, small, even some rural places are starting to do this. This is a tool that's allowed under the Municipal Act when it was changed in 2001. And more municipalities are picking up on it as a great way to deal with their inventory of buildings.
Is that everything, Mr. Merriman?
Yeah, I do believe so. So,
okay, good stuff. I'll open it up for discussion from members of council. Any comments, questions, please? Councilor McConnell, please.
Thank you very much, Mayor Todd. On page 32 of our blurb here for tonight in Schedule A, there's administrative fees and penalties for vacant building registry, a proposal. And item number 1 is an annual fee for registering or renewal of a vacant building or vacant unit within a building to a maximum of 3 units, and the amount is $1,000. I have to wonder if this is really another form of taxation without it going on the tax bill. If you have a building right now that's taxable and it happens to be empty, you're paying a tax on it, and in this particular case, you would be paying another $1,000 on the same building. I'm not sure that's fair.
Mr. Merriman, comment on that?
well, to begin with, like I said, this is what staff put forward through doing the research. We found fees anywhere from $600 to a little over $1,300 some odd dollars based on where they were in the province. Part of it also had to do with how often you were inspecting the said building. One of the big things to remember about this is what we don't want to have happen is that building become a burden to the rest of the taxpayers in the community when it gets to the point that it needs to be torn down and the person simply walks away from the building. So although you might feel that it's a tax, I feel it's a fee for a user fee. This is to encourage the person to get the building back into use. This fee will get waived if they have an active building permit going on. And like I said, part of this also has to do with, it's not a case that you have a very large building that's really separated into 10 different units. And you can't say that, well, because one small unit at the very small end that's 100 square feet is rented, it's not really a vacant building. The reality is it's still a vacant building. It's being underutilized. And if there's no one being there to inspect it on a regular basis, the reality is it doesn't take long till it really goes downhill. For that $1,000, that will involve at least 4 inspections a year by the town, by the bylaw department. It'll also include in one of those, the anticipation is to take the fire department along with us for at least one of those, with most of the inspections, the fire department helping on in either the spring or the fall. So that's how that number was came up with. However, council is always more than how, we'll certainly take any feedback we get from council on that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Merriman. Councilor McConnell, follow up before I move on to Councilor Young.
No, I think Sean explained that very well. It's a little more palatable the way he put it, although I'm wondering if we shouldn't perhaps have a maximum on there somehow related to the amount of property tax that is charged on a building. I mean, if we got a vacant property that's only paying $800, for example, in property tax, I have a tough time charging $1,000 on top of that for an annual fee for inspection. I think perhaps a maximum percentage should be considered. I just throw that out there.
And I'll give it over to Sean for that, but if we are talking 4 inspections, we're involving a significant amount of time with regards to staff and fire department and possibly other people involved as well, if there are significant structural issues. So I agree with your concept. I'm just a little concerned that we wouldn't get full cost recovery if we had incidents with a building. I mean, you just have to look at 440 Dibble between you and I, Lee, to know what the cost can go up to there when a building's been sitting vacant for a while. That would be my only concern with that, is cost recovery for, as other people in town shouldn't have to pay for those inspections. That would be my own way. Sean, did you have a comment on that?
Other than that's exactly what I'd like to hear back from you, Councillor McConnell, before the end of the month. By all means, put it in writing. Give me some sort of idea what you're thinking about. And then at that point, we can research it, see if any other towns are doing it. In fairness, I didn't look at every single town that had a vacant building registry. I looked at about 5. None of them were doing it that way, but it's certainly a feasible way to do it. Should council direct me to do so.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks, Councilor McConnell. Thanks, Mr. Merriman. Councilor Young, please.
Thank you, Brett. I too thought the $1,000 was a little heavy. As a downtown property owner, there were times when I had a vacancy in my rental unit through no fault of mine. It was rentable and was occupied maybe 2 months later or 3 months later. $1,000 seems very, very heavy in those cases. While there are properties that have not been rented in 10 years, 5 years, longer, I don't have the same sympathy for them as I do for someone who has just got a short-term vacancy. I wondered about charging that fee based on the inspection. If it's inspected 4 times a year, they pay $100 or $200 4 times a year. That would solve the short-term vacancy issue. The other question I had was, has this been run by the fire department and are they in complete agreement on it?
Thank you, Councilor Young. Mr. Merriman, please.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, in the thing, Councilor Young, and in regards also to your comments and also Councilor McConnell's, there is a thing where they get some of their money back. So if to begin with, it doesn't start till it's been empty for a full 90 days. Also, it gets prorated. We were talking with Matthew that based on when the tax bills go out, if someone ended up renting it out, at 4 months, they wouldn't pay the full 1,000. They just pay basically for the time that it was empty. So it really was just about putting a number that was fair in terms of the entire year, but could be prorated as needed based on, like I say, the problem's not someone that rents it at 95 days. Problems when someone doesn't rent it or isn't even actively looking for someone to rent it for years and years. As to the fire department, they are very much aware of this. Chief Rennie and Brent, their fire prevention officer, Brent Norton and Tracy are all aware. We are going to have a sit-down meeting also before the 30th to go down and make sure that they're happy with absolutely everything that's in there. But the concept, they still like it. They like the concept that they'll be in a building at least once a year so that they know what's in there. It lets them also plan should the worst happen. And, they have a catastrophe there or an emergency. They know what they're going into.
Thanks very much, Sean. Follow up, Councillor Young.
No, I'm fine.
Thank you, sir. Councillor Burton, please.
Thank you, Mayor Todd. I do like this report, Sean. I think it's a push in the right direction. We do have some buildings downtown that nobody seems to want to rent because there's so many maintenance issues, could be structural. I mean, we don't know, but you going in and the fire department, that's important too, going in and inspecting these buildings and giving the owners a little bit more of a push. I mean, we can't have the vacancies that we have right now. That's half the problem downtown in most municipalities, because the buildings are not, they're sitting there and the owners have kind of walked away and said, you know what, I'm only going to pay $800 in taxes. It's a wash for me. So giving them a little bit of a push to get their act together, per se, I think it's a fabulous idea. So I would definitely be in favor of this.
Thank you very much, Councillor Burton. Further comments? Mike, anything? Please.
Well, I agree with the conversation that's going on about this. We've been looking at this for years, and I goes well beyond my years and yours as well, Brett, that we've been looking for something. We needed a tool that was flexible but yet enforceable to get some movement on some of these things. They're offsite owners in the most cases, and we need something like Sean has drawn up, and I think it's pretty close to what should work. When in cooperation with the fire department, engineering if needed, or whatever else. So I think it's aimed in the right direction, and we've given Sean a little nudge for maybe some tweaks here and there. So I'm a big fan of it. Yes, thanks.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ostrander. We don't have to decide this finally tonight, of course. This is just the time to give the initial feedback and to think about the concepts to bring it back. And just my own comments, I'm wondering if maybe one of the ways to look at this is to look at that 90 days, because that would sort of get to the point of, I don't think any of us want to punish someone that's got a couple apartments or something that's been vacant for 100 days or, even 4 months. It's the 6 months, the year, the 2 years. So maybe there's something that can be looked at as scale based on the days in relation to the amounts. Maybe it's something to look at. I don't know what a perfect number is or what a perfect number of days are that would trigger all of this as well. But, Councillor Young makes a really good point with that. And if it's, it's 3 months or so, that's not our major concern. As Councillor Burton mentioned, the concern is the longer ones, the ones that have let the buildings go. And we've had good uptake on, as Leanne well knows as well, we've approved a lot of those CIP applications, which has been great to see, but we still have a few more issues down there in the downtown that need to be dealt with this, and not in the downtown as well. I hate to bring 440 in again because it is actually owned now, but that's been empty for the better part of 30 years. And it's an issue for pretty much all of our area, the whole west end of town. It's been a problem, and it's been a safety issue. The fire departments had to respond to at least 2 major fires in that building over the years. So there's a real need to have that ability for us to intervene. So anyways, we can leave it off on that tonight unless anyone has anything pertinent they really want to get in. But we've actually, can send in notes to Mr. Merriman and to address these issues before this comes back and we're at the point of passing the final wording the bylaw. Dana, did I see your hand up there a moment ago? Please.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Todd, to council. Just quickly, I really just wanted to echo my full support from an economic development perspective for this bylaw. It's something that I've been advocating for many months. Really happy to see this come forward, and really kind of going back to the comments to the 90-day thing. If I could, just from what I'm seeing in the downtown, based on the average turnover of our commercial properties, I would say on average, we're seeing probably 3 to 6 months, closer to the 6 month side with some properties to see those actually transition when they do become vacant. So I personally would recommend maybe extending that to a 6 month time period before that initial bylaw actually does get activated. And really the intent is, as I think Councillor Burton and Mayor Todd both mentioned, is really to address those long-standing vacancies, the ones where we have those property owners that are simply not actively looking to rent them or aren't renovating them to a point that they are considered leasable from the perspective of a new business coming in, or just in many cases using them for their own personal uses. And I would say those are really the big issues that we're trying to address, and they've been going on with some of these properties for years now. I'm sure we could all throw out a few examples. So that's really what the intent of this bylaw was for. And I would just hate to see it, to the point of some of the members of council, to see it be used against businesses that are actively trying to rent and keep their commercial properties occupied. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very couldn't agree with that more. We want to give people a nudge, as I think Councilor Burton mentioned, and push them in the right direction, but we don't want to be punitive. That's the last thing we want as well, because we've got some people that really have become champions downtown and they're trying to do their best with their buildings, but there's some real expenses there. We've got historic heritage buildings down there, and anyone who's ever renovated anything knows what that tends to involve. So at any rate, we don't have to come up with the final numbers and in terms of days, money tonight, but it's good point to start thinking about this. Councilor McConnell, do you have a comment?
A question, if I may, Mayor Todd, of Sean. That going back to that $1,000 fee, if I can read the description here, it says annual fee for registering or renewal of a vacant building or vacant unit within a building to a maximum of 3 units. Now, I take that to mean that if you have a house with 3 apartments, it's vacant, all are vacant. If you have a commercial building with 3 stores and they are all vacant, what if you have a building with 4 units? Are you up to $2,000 then?
No, you'd simply stop at the 3,000 once you hit the 3. Basically based on the roll number. So it's just some buildings in the downtown may have, and I'm just throwing out a number, say 10 uses in the same building. But if I'm going to that whole building, regardless of how many uses are in it, although you got to go into each unit separately, there is some cost savings that come when you're going to do the same place, basically one right after the other. So we took because we weren't looking to be punitive, we set a maximum requirement. And I thought of some of the worst buildings in town, that if they were vacant, how much it'd take. And then I also considered the way we've always passed other bylaws where we often hit maximums of 3. So think of the sign bylaw. When people put up signs on their business, it's $75 each till you hit a maximum of 3. So again, it was about creating consistencies both with this bylaw and with the other bylaws that we have, so that it makes it easier for staff and residents of the town to know exactly where what they're going to end up hitting their head against. So in this case, if you had a building that had 6 vacancies in it, you would still only pay the 3 fees.
The 3 fees?
Yeah, to a maximum of 3. So it'd be up to $3,000.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor McConnell. So presuming this passes in a moment, staff is requiring feedback prior to September 30th, and this will be brought back to our council meeting on October 18th for final review and consideration. And I will just ask really quickly before I do call the question, for that council meeting on the 18th, Mr. Merriman, is that when you're looking to bring back the property standards as well for, like we bring it to council at our next meeting, get approval? Like, are you going to try to tie them all up at the same meeting?
Through
Or
you,
passing them one at a
Worship.
time as well?
Well, passing them one at a time, but it's still at the same point, with the goal being that all three come into effect for January 1st, 2022.
Okay.
So yes, my goal is to have all three at the September 18th meeting, or excuse me, the October 18th meeting. But if necessary, the one may be 2 weeks behind it, but still to take effect at the same.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that because obviously it's kind of a package deal with them all. They do sort of interrelate. So good stuff. Any final comments before I call the question? All those in favor? Motion is carried. So we've given good feedback tonight on that. So if there is, staff just take that into account. I think the two areas of the 90 days and that $1,000 and just the fee structure. So thanks again, Sean. Really good report. Some great stuff in there, and it's definitely much needed. So 12.5 is staff report 87-2021 administrative monetary penalties system bylaw. Recommendation is that council accept staff report 87-2021 for information and provide feedback to staff prior to September 30th, 2021, and that staff be directed to bring back the bylaw to the council meeting of October 18th, 2021 for final review and consideration. Can I ask for a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Young, seconded by Councillor Ostrander. And that's on to Mr. Merriman again.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, Mr. Mayor, this here is the second prong in the multi-prong approach. And again, AMPS is really about taking a lot of the bylaw stuff out of the court system at the provincial level. Not because we have any, disagreement with the provincial system, not because we have any, reason to think that they don't care about municipal bylaws or anything like that, but simply to speed up and make the system more efficient. Unfortunately, the judicial system has become much more time consuming than it used to be in the past. And often any charges that we lay under the bylaw system can take anywhere from about a minimum of 1 year if things go really smooth, to often going to 2, 3, or 4 years. And often they get dismissed, including the last couple of times they were dismissed just due to the amount of time that had passed. So the Ontario government in the Municipal Act in 2001 changed it so that municipalities could bring this in-house. Again, part of the concept is to speed up the efficiencies. Prince Edward County, which uses this system, found that they went from a little over 2 years on average to about 45 days before most things were resolved. And it still keeps the approach, because often with bylaw, sometimes people just want to feel like they got heard. And this gives them the opportunity between a screening officer and a hearing officer, so two different systems, besides just the time that they spend with the bylaw officer, for them to get heard. And like I say, it deals with the process fairly quickly, fairly efficiently. It's not meant to be punitive, much like the last one. It's really a question of just looking at some of the costs that are involved and putting reasonable fees in place, and actually fees that would be most likely to get even at the court system, even if we were successful. Although many of the bylaws will have things like you can be fined up to $25,000 if you're an individual, or $50,000 if you're a corporation. The reality is that isn't the amount that gets set at court. It's usually somewhere in the neighborhood of below $100 if it's an individual, and less than $500 or $1,000 if it's a corporation. So the concept is to bring it back in-house, to do it in a clean and efficient way. And it's actually to help the people that also express concerns to the town. People sometimes express a concern to the town and they feel like we almost didn't act on it. But the reality is, the way the old system was set up, we have to go through every single step, every single time. And it can feel like it's being dragged on. Not to say this will solve the problems, but it will at least make a presentation to the people that we are trying to resolve the situation. And sometimes a little financial incentive does help get the compliance that we're looking to get. So again, same concept. We're looking for some feedback. The numbers that have been put out there have been compared to our other bylaws, things that we expect to get or not to get. And also the bylaws that have been listed at the back were in the things were the bylaws that we thought could be used through this system. But if anyone else wants to put forth any other bylaws for consideration, we'd be more than happy. I do know that I was thinking about it the other day and I wondered if I should have included littering or smoking. So again, that's it. Mayor Todd, I'm more than happy to answer any questions should anyone have any.
Thanks very much, Mr. Merriman, and start off with Councillor Young.
Thank you, Brett. Sean, without naming names or anything, a few years ago, we got into a property standards issue with a resident. And we took the resident to court and it was delayed and then it was delayed and it was delayed. Meanwhile, our staff is showing up at the courthouse. They're spending time preparing for testifying. And this would eliminate a lot of that. It wouldn't eliminate the time, but it would eliminate the trips to the court, which are the most expensive part. So I'm sure viewers are wondering what we're talking about. I'm sure you recall the incident that I'm referring to. And could you put a dollar value on what we spent on that particular trial?
It gets so tough because there's no invoice that's created at the very end of it. But every time we go to court, we never go for less than $2,000 in total costs. By the time you end up paying for the solicitor, by the time you end up paying for staff time, by the time you end up paying just everything, I would be very surprised if we ever managed to do it for less than $2,000.
So when it's delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed, that just multiplies the $2,000, obviously.
Every single time. And part of this thing is to actually help the people that want to explain why it is what it is too. Sometimes they get frustrated because they come to court, they're ready to make their argument to the judge. They're ready to put forward their best argument why it shouldn't have applied in this case. And unfortunately, not to anyone's fault, but unfortunately the courts are booked up that day. Someone calls in sick that day, whatever the case may be. And again, it gets delayed. And so then they're trying to find it every time it's delayed. This here will make it much more efficient. The nice thing is our screening and hearing officers will be able to meet as needed, when needed. We'll actually be able to talk to the person that wants to come to make sure we set up a time that works for them right from the get-go. So like I said, and it really does, it takes, bylaw isn't the most serious crime that's out there. And I'm not saying that it is, but sometimes people want resolution as well. And the idea is this should give them a resolution sooner instead of later.
Yeah, I like it, Sean, and I support it very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Young. Other comments, questions? Okay, so nothing formal tonight, but obviously we do have till the end of the month, September 30th, to get input in. I think, Sean, actually, you're heading in the right direction with the two comments that you made. I think expanding this wherever possible is actually a good idea. Any way we can avoid POA court right now is the best because it hasn't been functioning that well since COVID. There's been shortages of justices of the peace as well, particularly in East Region. So this is an ongoing issue. It's something the counties have been dealing with as well with POA and how that's Provincial Offences Act, how POA is dealt with in the court system. So any way we can get away from that, I think it's good for us. It's going to save us money. It's going to result in a more efficient system. And I'm actually surprised all municipalities aren't going over to something like this, given what's happened with COVID as well. It's been a very interesting time the last year and a half of the court system, and some things have got to change there with the way things are organized, quite frankly. So if no further comments or questions, I will call the vote on this one. All those in favor? Motion carried. Thanks again, Sean.
Thank you very much for your work.
And one more staff report this evening. That's 12.6, staff report 88-2021, accessibility improvement options for downtown businesses. This report has just been provided for information. And that is, Matthew, is that you?
Yes.
All right, can't remember who actually did that one now. So please take us
Thank you
through.
very much,
what
Mr.
the
Mayor.
report shows.
So back a couple of months ago when we were talking about accessibility in the downtown, it was requested that we bring back some options of what businesses could do. And so the Ontario Business Improvement Area Association has produced a great guideline and a handbook for businesses to be able to really take a look at that. And they've broken it down into no cost, low cost, or medium cost solutions. And when everyone thinks about accessibility, they always think the ramp outside the door or the automatic door opener or the wider type of door opening that you're going to go through. But there's a lot of other things that could be done that help get down that continuum of accessibility. And so perhaps maybe a permanent ramp doesn't work, but there are alternatives out there for temporary ramps that you're able to do. That's one of the things that we're working on with our BIA and through economic development, is looking at different options of where you might be able to get temporary ramps. And there's some not-for-profits out there that will do the design, and then it's a matter of finding somebody to actually build them. So it's things like that maybe an expensive permanent ramp isn't the solution, but temporary ramps are helpful. Then things, just the contrast of the door frame, again, helps accessibility. Being able to make sure that you use high contrast and large lettering certainly helps, being people able to see the directions that are being provided. A lot of the things that we saw with COVID in terms of curbside pickup or calling ahead and somebody meeting you at the door, those same solutions are really good for accessibility as well. Having unobstructed paths throughout your store or at your entrances and exits, very key to being able to help with accessibility. So through this handbook and tool guide, that it really gives you an opportunity to say, your staff need training. You need to think about this from a customer service perspective, a website perspective, how you design the interior of your building, and being able to make sure that there are low clutter and that the areas that you have for passageways are wide enough to be able to support perhaps a wheelchair and those types of things. And then obviously even the documents that you produce, the font. One of the things that you'll notice is that all of our reports are in an Arial 12-point font, and that's for an accessibility standard, so that we're able to make it. That's the standard that we work to, and that's part of why we do what we do in our own reports. So when we take a look at that, I produced or added the handbook in there as well, and we will share that with all of our local businesses, as well as being able to target those businesses that might be that qualify for community improvement grants. So we do provide up to $5,000, a matching 50-50 grant. So if they spend up to $10,000, then the town would spend up to $5,000, and that's in the downtown area. There's a couple of other areas as well that we help provide for, and that I believe is in the employment line, being able to help with that. So to date, since 2018, we've approved $83,500 in accessibility grants through CIP, of which $75,500 was for the downtown area. So it goes to show that we have been moving along that line, but there's always still work to do. First of all, be able to provide this handbook to our local businesses, and then secondly, targeting those local businesses that haven't taken advantage of the accessibility grant, and making sure that they know about it. So those were really what we wanted to accomplish through this report. And actually the Ministry of Seniors and Accessibility endorses this and provides it at a number of the conferences that I've gone to previously, as really being what you can do, not only from a business, but for any, it doesn't just have to be retail, but any business out there or organization that they can consider. And you might not be 100% accessible, but if you're making strides in that direction and being, thinking about those types of things that people have to go through from a an accessibility standpoint, then that's where you're going along that continuum and really achieving some of the things that we don't necessarily think of with accessibility beyond a ramp and a door opening. So I think that's really what we try to achieve with this, and our next step is making sure that all of our businesses in town are aware of that, and we're continuing work on the temporary ramp solutions for downtown. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Armstrong. Dana, from your perspective as our Economic Development Officer, I know Justin, as our BDO, has been looking at this, as noted in the report, but any comments from your perspective as our ECDev officer on this and what we can do to make particularly the downtown more accessible?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Todd, for you to council. As Matthew mentioned, so our business development officer has been actively investigating some of the more not permanent, but actual physical accommodation accessibility enhancements that could be installed by businesses. We had quite a few that expressed interest in the portable ramp option. So that's one that he's directly pursuing right now. We did find an initial provider that we were hoping to partner with, but it turns out it's more of a community-based project, and it required a significant volunteer group here in the community to implement versus being a company that we could just purchase these ramps from directly. So we're looking at the possibility of finding a local contractor to do just that, that could partner with our businesses. They would come and take measurements, because of course every storefront is different when it comes to the egress that they have. So they would come take measurements and then provide an affordable solution that individual businesses could buy into. And I think something else that's important to look at is how can we be, I guess, more aggressive in providing options for businesses versus just communicating some of the different publications that are out there, because it is something, accessibility, that we do communicate to businesses and try to provide them with access to resources such as this accessibility guide on a regular basis. But they're very busy. So I do think we can play a greater role as a municipality and BIA, and really coming up with some great ideas and implementation strategies that businesses can adopt, whether it be some of those physical improvements or some of these other just customer service related enhancements that maybe they just haven't had the time to really explore or investigate. So we'll definitely be looking at that guide and some other resources and coming up with some real direct projects that we can encourage the businesses to engage in.
Thank you very much. I know this has been an ongoing discussion at BIA for the last couple of years anyways. So some good interested parties in there to help kind of spread the word too. Open up for comments, questions from members of council, please. Councilor Burton.
Thank you, Mayor Todd. And I just want to thank staff for the report. This is something that's important that each municipality should go down. I love the idea of the handbook. I love the idea that staff is working with business owners to help them access that grant, that if they are having accessibility issues. And I think it's a step in the right direction. And I appreciate the report, and I appreciate the hands-on with our staff, with our business owners, and helping them any way that they can.
Thank you very much, Councilor Burton. Other comments, questions? Councilor McConnell, please.
Thank you very much, Mayor Todd. Excuse me, as a former business person in both downtown Brockville and downtown Prescott, I know how much people with a disability appreciate when they can access your store, and both of my stores were accessible. We kind of take things for granted when we don't have a disability, that, fine, you walk up a couple steps into a store, or the aisles are a bit tight and you don't really mind it. But if you're trying to maneuver a wheelchair, or if you don't see just as well as somebody else and you knock something off a shelf, not meaning to, people get embarrassed when things like that happen, and then they're maybe not apt to frequent your store again. But if you can do things to accommodate them, they appreciate it, and they will return, and they will tell their friends. So I'm well in favor of anything we can do on this line. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor McConnell. Other comments? Councillor Ostrander, please.
Just a question to Matthew. As you were mentioning the details of this, is there any implementation date for these people, or is it just ongoing and open-ended sort of, and up to the municipality to see that it's done at some reasonable time, I guess, or whatever?
I believe it's based on the number of employees that you have, but there's a requirement for all businesses to work towards accessibility. And certainly that's, we try to help that along through grants and that sort of thing.
Okay. Good, thank you.
Thank you both. Any other comments? Seeing none, so that's this is an ongoing story, of course. So hopefully we'll hear some good news back through BIA and through our ECDEV and business development officers of some uptake on this, and it'll people applying for the grants will go through the PAC as well. So hopefully we'll get some more uptake here. And just another quick pitch for the community improvement program. We are trying to do all we can to help with renovation, businesses, get the downtown rolling. We've had some incredible uptake on that so far. It's been a huge success the last couple of years, but there's more money available. And please approach us if you have any ideas for your existing business or you're looking to start something here in Prescott. Contact our town hall. So that takes us through staff reports this evening. We do have one resolution that's under item 13.1, designating Laughs at the Leo as a municipally significant event. Recommendation is that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Prescott recognizes the Laughs at the Leo event taking place on June 4th, 2022 as one of municipal significance. This event is considered as having municipal significance as it is taking place at a municipal facility. And I'll add that this is also a fundraiser for the arena. This is a major project of Brent McAllister, actually. I think has spearheaded that with some assistance for some others, but this is Brent's baby and looks like it's going to be a great event overall. Matthew, do we have any other details on that we'd want to share tonight with regards to why we're declaring this a significant event?
Certainly. So in terms of the applications that we need to fill out and the permits that we require, it certainly helps if the municipality has designated as being a significant municipal event. And so that's really what we're trying to achieve here is smooth out that process a little bit and make it a little bit easier for the organizing committee to get through that.
Thank you very much. Could I ask for a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Burton, seconded by everybody. I think Ray just beat you guys out. So seconded by Councillor Young. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion carried. And thanks again to Brent McAllister, particularly for bringing that event forward. It was actually planned for, what was it, last summer, Leanne, actually, it was, and Mike, it was, and just COVID again, just has gotten in the way and kind of ruined everything here, but we are still doing it. And I think it's going to be a great event. 14 bylaws, nothing tonight. 15 new business. Does any member of council have any new business to present this evening? Seeing none. 16 notices of motion. Does any member of council have a notice of motion to present tonight? Seeing no. 17 mayor's proclamation, and boy, this is timely. So the proclamation tonight is September 20th to 26th, 2021, Rail Safety Week. And the proclamation reads as follows. Whereas Rail Safety Week is to be held across Canada from September 20th to September 26th, 2021, and whereas it is in the public's interest to raise citizens' awareness of the dangers of ignoring safety warnings at level crossings and trespassing on rail property to reduce avoidable deaths, injury, and damage caused by incidents involving trains and citizens, and whereas Operation Lifesaver is a public-private partnership whose aim is to work with the public, rail industry, governments, police services, media, and others to raise rail safety awareness. And whereas CN has requested town council to support its ongoing efforts to raise awareness, save lives, and prevent injuries in the community, in communities, including in the town of Prescott. Therefore, be it resolved that the Corporation of the Town of Prescott does hereby recognize and support Rail Safety Week being held September 20th to 26th, 2021. And we kind of started that little bit early this year with what's happened in Prescott. And again, we've actually, at the end of everything, we fared quite well with what happened. So thanks again to CN for their quick response as well. And just let everybody know about Rail Safety Week and to acknowledge the issues that can happen in and around rail lines. So 18 closed session. We do have a couple of items under the closed session this evening. So that recommendation reads that council move into closed session at 7:31 p.m. to discuss matters pertaining to 18.1 purchase and sale. So under section 239 2C of the Municipal Act, that's a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board. And that the CAO, treasurer, clerk, interim director of operations, deputy clerk, and economic development officer remain in the room. Could I have a mover, please? Moved by Councilor Ostrander, seconded by Councilor Burton. We will take a quick 5-minute break before we come back with this, but this should be relatively quick, but we've been here for 90 minutes, so let's just take 5 and come back at 7:37, and let's try to be 7:37 sharp. All those in favor?